Hey all, this program is rated M for Mature, presenting Master and Apprentice Photography.
Let's get started, I guess.
We just did.
Cold open.
Let's go.
Started.
So Joe got a camera.
Well, we're supposed to welcome them back into the episode.
No one gives a shit. They don't.
Okay.
If they've made it this far, like they don't want to hear us welcome them back. They're already here. Yeah.
So yes, I did get a camera. Finally.
Tell us about it.
I got the Sony A6000. Apparently this came out in 2014, so like I was very surprised at how expensive it was, even though it was really cheap for a camera, I'm sure.
Right.
Like, yeah, so got the Sony A6000, got it on eBay, because everyone says go used, and I'm so glad that I did. I'm kicking myself because I have been shopping for a camera since January, and thanks to Rona, prices have increased significantly for cameras.
Right.
Don't know why. I guess everyone wants to take pictures inside, but I got the camera, I was excited, and then I went down the journey of buying lenses.
Yeah.
So
Tell us what you got.
I ended up going with the same thing that you recommended in, I guess, the first episode.
Yep.
I got the 35 millimeter, the manual prime lens that I found on Amazon for, I think it was like $80, like brand new.
Yeah, the Mica.
Yeah, it was super cheap, and I was excited for it.
Mm-hmm.
And then I got the kit lens because it had the autofocus, and I wanted to play around with that. And I'm so glad I got that too, because even though it's not that great, it's I feel like I'm going to learn a lot with it.
Yeah, super versatile.
Yes.
Yeah.
Actually, I set it up. I didn't actually put this in the notes, but I set it up with my capture card on my computer, and I was going to use it for live streaming on Twitch. And that kit lens is amazing.
Yeah.
Which I also bought a dummy battery for it, which was also a very good investment, especially if you're going to use it indoors.
When we're talking about kit lenses, it's always funny, like what. Well, obviously, when I say, "Well, stay away from kit lenses," like they're not as sharp as the $2,000 prime lenses that I'll recommend to you. But if you look at what professionals were using 20 years ago, like the kit lenses are even better than that.
Yeah.
So you're in good hands, and 16 to 50 millimeters is a good range to learn on. You can go super wide and get a lot of like context, and it's really difficult to shoot wide. So at least you'll have like that ultra wide to practice with.
Mm-hmm. What's actually funny is I got the kit lens in the mail first, and when it came in the mail, it felt like a toy. It's like all plastic, really lightweight, and I was like,
yeah,
wait, this is what a lens feels like? And then I got the 35 millimeter Mica, which is built like a tank.
Yeah, it's all metal.
Yeah, I'm like, this is what a lens should feel like. And I was like, man, this kit lens feels like a toy.
Yeah, it's 1.7, so it has lots of glass inside.
Ah, okay, that makes more sense.
Mm-hmm.
So the f-stops, which is the 1.7 rating thing or whatever, that's how much light gets in?
Exactly, and it's like it's a ratio, so the lower the number, the more it is.
Yes, I think I watched 10 YouTube videos on this.
Yeah, it's not intuitive.
But it makes sense once you actually have it in your hands.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, once you start playing with the dials and you go, oh, if I open it up all the way, the number is lower and everything's blurrier, and if I make it,
Yeah, it didn't click when I was like shopping for lenses.
Yeah.
But then as soon as I had it in my hands and I had both of them in my hands, like, oh, this makes a lot more sense.
Right.
Which, yeah, the kit lens only does from 3.5 to 5.6 or something for the f-stops. And you could definitely tell the difference in the brightness and how much light is actually getting let in.
So you must be bothering your wife and daughter, snapping pictures all over the place.
So I have... the first thing I did was I pulled out my green screen that I used to use while streaming.
Right.
I don't use it anymore because the way my office is set up, but I set it up in my spare bedroom, and then I busted out a tripod that I was borrowing from my dad, and I'm like, we're doing a photo shoot, and nobody wants to stand in front of the camera.
Yeah.
I'm like, no, I need to take pictures. So I have taken lots of pictures of my pets.
Yeah. Yeah.
So far, actually, I've only taken maybe 50 pictures, which that's a lot for me, but I was like, only happy with a couple of them. I was like, I could do better. So
of course.
I think that's where I need to learn like the settings and stuff.
Right.
But I got one good picture of my Greyhound where like the face is like perfectly in focus and like the back has that nice creamy background.
Yeah, on your 35?
Yeah, with the 35.
Wide open, like at 1.7?
No, I don't think I did. Well, my Greyhound is black and white, so I wanted to get it kind of dark.
Mm-hmm.
So I went a little lower, but yeah, I definitely need. It's more to play around with, but I have noticed the lighting is probably the most important part of taking pictures. It's like, oh my gosh, without light, it doesn't do justice for the picture. But
right,
I think we talk about that a little later.
Did you post it on Instagram?
I have not posted anything. No, I still have the SD card in there.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my gosh, I didn't buy any SD cards, but then I realized I had a bunch of SD cards laying around. I had a 32 gigabyte one, so I figured that's plenty.
Yeah.
I have this mentality where I want to fill it up before I take it out. I think I need to get into the mentality of, okay, after I'm done with the shoot, I need to move it all to my computer before something bad happens.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what I was going to say.
I've heard a lot of horror stories about corrupt or the SD cards and stuff, and
yeah, you're talking about just leaving it in my butthole clenched.
So yes, I need to get in the habit of pulling them off. Also, once I get it on my computer, I could probably pull up the picture and be like, okay, it probably looks a lot better on this tiny little 4-inch screen than it does my computer. So
yeah, exactly.
Which I'm just learning. So
yeah, and then you can start learning how to edit it and add contrast. Are you shooting in black and white, or are you shooting it in color?
I'm doing color. I don't know how to shoot in black and white yet. I haven't gotten to that menu setting yet.
Okay. As
we were talking offline, Sony's menu is super, I don't want to say confusing, it's just complex. Like, the buttons and the menu have, like, I'm sure they have a rhyme and reason to them, but, like, there's so many settings. I'm like, okay. And, like, I found out that they have a web app.
Right.
You can control the camera through your phone and stuff. And I was like, oh, so the phone has, like, Wi-Fi and Bluetooth. And I'm like, oh my God, I have another smartphone to learn. What the hell?
Yeah, my Fujis have that app. It's actually pretty, very handy. Instead of having to use like an old school remote, you just have that straight through your phone. You can even use like live view with it.
Yeah, because I didn't realize this. The A6000 does not have the quote unquote selfie screen.
Right.
So like the screen on the back, you can pull it out and adjust it a little bit, but you can't face it forward.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think that app would be very useful for something like that. But
yeah, exactly. Most professional cameras won't have like the selfie screen.
I know, but I was looking at the A5000 and the A5100. I think those do.
Well, in one of my more hypocritical moments, I was always like, when they started coming out with the flip screens, I was going, a real professional doesn't need to use that. Like, come on, that's not photography. And then when I got my Fujifilm, like, they had a flip screen. I was like, this is the best invention ever. I could, like, if I'm photographing in a crowd, I can lift it up and flip the screen down and see what I'm doing. Or if I want to get, like, a super low angle, like, along the ground, let's say it's, like, leaves in the fall. So I can put my camera low down in the leaves and just flip the screen up and look through the screen and do it.
Yeah, so you don't have to put your face on the ground or anything.
Exactly. So it's like, oh, this is amazing. I was like, how come no one ever told me how useful this is? And my friend was like, I've been telling you how useful it was, and you just told me I was a piece of shit. I was like, yeah, sounds like me.
It was garbage until I needed it.
Yeah, exactly.
It's actually funny, when I was like shopping for used cameras on eBay, a lot of the Sony A5000s and A5100s were marketed as a YouTuber camera because of the selfie screen.
Right.
And I was like, that kind of like cheapens it for me.
Right.
Like,
yeah.
it's those are good quality cameras. You can do a lot with them, but like they're being marketed for bloggers. Like,
yeah,
I feel like that's, I don't know. It just seems like it takes away from the camera a little bit. It should be like marketed as a professional camera that can also be used for like blogging and.
Had a camera for 1 week and you're already like pretentious artiste.
Oh my god. Oh, oh my god, a Marlin 2.0.
Yeah, you're like, these fucking YouTubers. I spit on you.
Oh my gosh, what have you done to me?
Yeah.
I've taken 50 pictures and I've already jaded.
Yeah, it's gonna get worse.
Wait until I switch to film.
Yeah. Get you a beret. Teach you French.
And then I'll just switch to Fujifilm. I was having a conversation with my friend about different types of cameras.
Yeah.
And he had brought up Fujifilm.
Yeah.
And I was telling him, like, I don't really like the look of the camera, even though that should not be a factor.
Right.
And he goes, yeah, most people who buy Fujifilm, they're pretentious douchebags or something like that, or they just want to be hipster. Like, I was like, wow, I know somebody like that.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, you go for Fujifilm if you want the old school look or something. I was like,
I mean,
okay.
yeah, so they do look cool, obviously, and I'm approached by a lot of people that are curious about them. But I wouldn't use something if it wasn't. I'm a professional. I need to,
Yeah.
Fujifilm it has a different. The sensor technology is different. It's X-Trans. I find the photos just end up being way more sharp, and the colors, like how I envision them, how I want them to be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the fact that it just makes you look like a hipster douchebag is just a bonus, right?
Yeah, exactly.
You just happen to stumble upon it. Gotcha.
Exactly.
Man, I have had a camera for like 3 days, and I'm already like being more negative than I normally am on this podcast.
Don't fall into the trap. Don't be like me, where I sound like I hate photography when I speak.
Taken 50 pictures already, and I got lots of opinions.
So, what are your initial impressions after your 50 photos?
Oh, so when the camera first arrived, I was like, this can't be right. This thing is tiny. I think that you and I talked about it, and you're like, you don't want something that's too small, especially if you have big hands. And I was like,
right.
It's a camera. It's going to be huge.
Mm-hmm.
I actually held it up to my smartphone, and the width and the height is smaller than my smartphone.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
I was just like blown away with how small it was.
Right.
And now I'm like telling everybody, it's like, you need to go mirrorless. I don't know how big a DSLR is, but like, there's no way that it can compare to how small this thing is.
Yeah, DSLRs are, I find them so cumbersome, especially now after using mirrorless for a few years. As soon as I see someone holding like a Canon 5D or an Nikon, it just looks so bizarre to me. But exactly how you felt when you said like, oh, it's a YouTube camera and fuck that. There's people that they need that big camera to make them feel special, to feel like a professional, I guess.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
Like they want to be in the crowd with the big camera.
Yeah, I don't. So it seems like more work to have a DSLR, in my opinion.
Oh,
like this thing is so light and small.
It's not fun to carry around a DSLR. It's when you're getting paid, it's different. But I don't want to go for a walk with my kids and grab a huge camera with a huge lens on it when my Fujifilm, my X Pro 2 fits in my pocket.
Wow.
Or I can, with the lens, not really, but
yeah,
with my strap, I can just literally just toss it around, my shoulder, and it's like negligible. It's not.
Yeah, I was so worried about like how small and like how light it is. The first thing I did was I bought this silicone case for it to make it look better, and 2, just in case I like bump it into something.
Yeah.
And then I got this strap for it. It's a little wrist strap.
Okay.
So
perfect.
I was like, I need something. I'm not going to break this. I got a silicone case. I got a wrist strap. I really want to get one of those. I want to get one of those small rig cages, just to make it a little bit bigger. So because like I said, it feels almost too small for me.
Yeah.
I mean, like when I'm holding it and I'm taking pictures, it like fits in my hand perfectly. But I don't know. I just feel like it needs to be bigger or way more or something like that. It just doesn't feel like a real camera.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Or you just need bigger lenses.
I don't want to go that route. I feel like a $50 small rig cage would be a better investment than a $250 $2,000 lens.
Yeah, exactly.
Although if I start taking pictures of birds, I'll need that huge lens.
Maybe. I'm not sure what birds are around your area that are interesting.
Lots of seagulls.
And you were okay with you're okay with the manual focus?
Yes. So I thought that I was gonna struggle with that. Just with wearing glasses, I was like, okay, I know my eyes are pretty bad. Even with glasses on, sometimes things can be a little blurry for me. But I'm like, okay, let's see how hard it is to like get something in focus. And I thought it was gonna be like really like fine tuning, but not really. Once you get the general focus, like you don't have to like fine tune it as much as I thought you would.
Right.
And I'm actually having a lot more fun with the manual focus than the autofocus.
Okay.
Mainly because like the autofocus, as great as it is, like sometimes it just does its own thing.
Yeah.
And I'm like, hey, I'm talking here. Like, why is this? Why are you moving? Like nothing happened.
Yeah, exactly.
And I guess that's like the downside of technology is like it has its own thing.
It's true. Mirrorless. So mirrorless is actually the autofocus isn't as good as like a regular DSLR. It needs to look for contrast, and sometimes if you're inside in low light, the autofocus is kind of wonky. Does it have focus peaking? Like when you can set up the outline, so if it in focus, it like lights up or changes color.
I remember reading something about that, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, you should look into that. It makes it even easier.
So I think Sony, I don't know if it's specific to the Sony, but it has this this one kind of focus mode where it like captures a subject and it will always focus on the subject regardless of what else is going on in the scene.
Right. That
So like
yeah.
it
That's
detects faces or something.
yeah. The Sony's face detection is really good.
It's really good and it's really nice, except for like if I'm like say when I was trying to get it set up for streaming, I was like, oh, let me hold up this something I want to show to the camera. It will always be focused on my face unless I cover up my face and then put the object up there.
Right.
So I was like, oh, I can see where that's a downside.
Yeah. It's mainly for portraits.
Yeah, and for that, I'm sure it works really well. But yeah, I'm just the manual focus just makes more sense to me in terms of like having control over what I want to focus on.
Yeah, man. If you can master it and it works for you, then that's what you got to do.
I could see where it would be a pain in like a very chaotic setting like a wedding.
Right.
Or any kind of photo shoot, really. Like, if it's not fully scripted and not fully in your control, I could see where autofocus is so much better.
Right.
Especially if you're just photographing people.
Mm-hmm.
It detects faces really well. I definitely see the benefit there, but for me, I like the manual focus right now.
And that's the beautiful thing about photography, right? It's something that works for me and that I swear by. You're like, fuck you, Marlon, you idiot. I hate autofocus. Like, why am I even starting this podcast with you? You don't know shit.
So I will say that I am glad that I got the kit lens that has the autofocus.
Right.
I feel like that would be the lens that I'll probably be using the most, like outside.
Mm-hmm.
But for indoors, and what I wanted to use it for, I think the manual focus is probably going to be my go-to for my normal pictures. But that may change also. I might also be thinking this because like. Looking at the cost of lenses, manual focus is so much cheaper, and maybe in the back of my mind, I'm like, I can't afford to go autofocus. I better learn this manual focus stuff.
No, but you make a good point. Like, when I'm working, things are chaotic. If I'm at a wedding, like, I have to get the shot.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have the opportunity to mess around. So,
yeah,
if you're just, you're taking pictures for yourself, and if you can take the time to really learn and perfect, like, manual focus, like, go for it. Like, it's totally, like, makes,
Yeah, they wouldn't sell them if there was no use for them if they were bad.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And it's not like I've never used manual focus.
Yeah, it's certain settings for certain lenses.
Right. No, that's great.
I'm super happy with the camera. I'm super happy with the lenses so far. Like I mentioned before, lighting is super important.
Yeah, and I saw that in the outline, and you stumbled onto really like the whole when. It's interesting as a beginner. You notice that right away. Like when I'm talking about people taking pictures of ducks at like 1:30 p.m. in the park, like the lighting's trash. Like, why are you even doing that? Like lighting is the most important part of a photo. It doesn't matter what lens you're using or what settings or what camera or what anything. If you find interest, your job now is to just look for interesting light. You're taking pictures of someone, put them near a window. Try putting them in direct sunlight. Now try moving them like just where the light starts to fall off, and like try to look for these patterns and gradations in light and things like that, and light bouncing off of walls, light bouncing off of surfaces, just dappled light through trees.
Yeah. So after I kind of set up my little home studio, my spare bedroom, after a day of playing around with the camera, the first thing I did that night after my wife went to bed, I went on Amazon and I was looking at studio lighting. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm like trying to like go cheap with everything, and then I'm like, I need all these LED lights.
No, don't. I mean, I'll when you're ready for that, I'll definitely help you. But I
think we need a whole episode on just lighting.
Yeah, well, it's a whole different game. I can give you a blog to follow. That's really well known. It's called Strobist, and they actually teach lighting from A to Z.
Ooh.
And like it's all about like DIY hacks and things like that. You would really like
love
this
that
guy, David Hobby. But your main focus right now should be just like learning your cameras in and out, because like lighting becomes a whole different.
Oh yeah, that changes
beast.
Everything.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I completely understand. That's why I was purposely like, no, I'm not buying any lights. I'm not buying any LEDs.
Yeah,
I'm working with what I got. I figured I need to get my bearings before I start going a little overboard. But this brings back a good point that you mentioned a while back. Don't remember which episode it was, but you go that the accessories like start to get a little out of control for the camera. Like the camera and the lens, that's one thing, but like the accessories, just a completely different.
Yeah. Yeah. The clamps for the light stands. You're like, why are these $80 each? And the company's like, well, no one else fucking makes them, so you're gonna pay whatever the fuck we decide.
I have noticed that too. Yes, there's only like one or two brands that make certain accessories and whatnot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so when I was setting up my camera for live streaming or whatever, I realized how important a HDMI cable is for my capture card.
Right.
Which I have a regular micro HDMI to regular HDMI adapter, but they make special angled ones just for cameras. And I was like, what?
Yeah, the L-shaped ones.
Yeah. And so I ordered one of those, even though I've got like a million of those little adapters. I was like, oh, the L-shaped one makes it go behind the camera. So now it's not in the way of everything. And oh my gosh, like every little thing starts adding up.
Yeah. There's always a problem. There's always something to correct, and someone selling you something for problems you didn't even realize you had.
Exactly. I'm going down this rabbit hole already, and I'm like, oh my gosh, what did I get myself into?
Yeah, we told you. It's not a cheap hobby.
Everybody warned me. I was like, oh, I got such a good deal on these lenses and this camera. And all of a sudden, I have like packages from Amazon showing up every day.
Exactly. Well, like, when digital first came out, everyone was excited. Oh, I never have to buy film again, you know. But then, you have to, you know. But you need like a beast computer to handle all your files, and you need to buy hard drives, and
all of a sudden, film looks really cheap.
Yeah, exactly.
So yes, so those are my initial impressions of the camera, of the lenses. Which after having that talk about lenses and taking care of them and stuff like that, I've been super critical of always having a lens cap on, always having my camera pointed down when I change the lenses on them and stuff.
Yeah, that's super important.
Yeah, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm still worried every time I change a lens.
I mean, dust is inevitable; it's gonna happen.
Yeah,
but you just want to minimize it. It's, you know, you can always clean your camera, and I think you'd be okay to learn how to clean it. It's really not that difficult once you're used to it, but
yeah,
you want to minimize all that. But it's daunting to like start wiping the sensor down.
Yeah, like right now, every time I go to change the lens, like I'm like in my mind, I'm like, oh my god, I'm taking too long. The lens is gonna get dust on it. It's gonna be ruined. Yeah. I'm gonna ruin this camera that I just bought. Oh my gosh.
You can't ruin it with dust. It'll just like,
I know.
One day you'll just be taking photos outside, and it'll look like there's like a UFO in the sky, like a dark spot. And
it's just where the dust is blocking the light.
Exactly. And it's super
I know
annoying,
that, but like,
yeah,
it's just in my mind. I'm like, oh no. I don't know. Like I said, I only paid $200 or $205 ship for this camera. Like in the grand scheme of things, that's like dirt cheap for a camera.
Yeah.
But I'm just like super worried if something's gonna happen to it. I can't drop this. I can't. I'm sure I'm gonna go through like 10 different lenses eventually. But
yeah, don't drop it though.
I'll try not to. That's why I got the wrist strap.
That's my tip for today.
Deliberate tip. Don't drop your camera. Don't drop any of your hardware.
Yeah, exactly.
Just don't drop anything ever.
Yeah,
unless it's meant to be dropped.
That's really a good tip. Just don't drop anything ever.
Don't drop anything ever unless you're a DJ and you need to drop the bass.
Oh.
That was dumb. I didn't say that. Actually, what's funny is like a little more than an hour ago, I was on a Discord and somebody goes, "Hey, I got a question between DSLR and mirrorless. Which one should I get?" And I jumped in. I'm like, "Get mirrorless. This thing is insanely tiny.
Yeah.
You need to get a mirrorless," which I know nothing about DSLR, so hopefully I'm not giving bad advice, but I'm like, just based on the size, get mirrorless.
Yeah, but that's the whole point about being an artist. It doesn't matter what the answer is, right? You just, you know, say what you want. You are, like,
I mean, it's all opinions.
From now on, whatever you have is the best. And if they don't agree with you, like, they're the ones that are stupid.
So I've had the camera for like 3 days now, or actually 4 days, and now every time anybody goes, "What camera should I get?" I'm like, "Oh, I really want to recommend this only camera that I've ever used," but I'm like, "No, I gotta not like fall into that trap." I'm like,
but you've been doing all the research, right? You did the research. When people go, "Oh, what camera should I get?" I'm a beginner. I'm like, I don't know. I haven't looked at beginner cameras since I was a beginner. So I would trust you recommending a camera over me, because you're like, "What lens should I get?" I was like, "Here's the list of lenses I recommend." You're like, I have to mortgage my house. I'm like, yeah, well, the optical quality is good.
And like you said in the previous episode, like every cheap lens, like I was looking at that the Miike, and I was like, oh wow, it's only $79 or $75 on Amazon shipped. I was like, that's an insanely good price. A lot of people are like, that's a garbage lens. You're not going to get any good pictures from that. I'm like, oh, come on. And then I watched like a YouTube video on it, and they're like, it's not that bad. And I'm like, oh, I could do that.
I have a Miike. I have my a fisheye lens I mentioned.
Yeah.
Which is like, you know, like a toy. So like I didn't care. Like it's a novelty effect, the fisheye.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't need autofocus, and it's so wide angle that everything's in focus anyways.
Yeah.
And it's so fun to use. But like they're full metal. They're built well. They're cheap because there's no autofocus motor, which is the most expensive part of the camera.
Mm-hmm.
So like if you're buying a manual focus, if you're fine with manual focus, like there's a reason why these lenses are so popular. They get the job done.
Yeah, but it was like what you were saying though, where people go, "Oh, you can't get good pictures from a $80 lens. You need to spend $1,200 if you want to get a good picture." It's like, no, you don't.
Yeah. Listen, when I was first starting shooting weddings as an assistant, I used my Plastic Fantastic, the 50mm Canon lens. That's $50 US.
Mm-hmm.
And like the images were great. People, like those are some person's like wedding photos taken on a $50 lens.
But people like you who've been shooting for quite some time, you kind of moved away from the budget stuff. You're looking at the really good stuff, and
yeah, of course.
Yeah, and that's the people making recommendations online are those same people that are like, no, you need to just jump straight to the $1,200 lens. Don't bother with anything under $100. It's not worth it.
Yeah, but saying not to bother that's just silly. I would never tell someone you have to do this, and it's not. Obviously, if I'm going to shoot multiple times a week, my stuff needs to be tougher. Yeah,
that's very true.
Because the only thing that matters to me is what matters most to me. I shouldn't say the only thing that matters to me is optical quality, like the actual image quality of the equipment. That's paramount, and then things like construction and everything. That's all comes after. But the priority is image quality. And now because I'm a professional, because I'm taking my bag everywhere, like I need the stuff to be tough as well and dependable. Even weather sealed. I like my stuff. I can shoot outside in the rain. I don't have to worry.
Oh wow!
So that's all important to me, and it's it's my business, so it's a business expense for me. Like if you're working in technology, you have to buy servers or things like that. That's you don't scoff at it because you need it for your job. So
yeah,
it's fun that my job is my hobby, and I get to buy fun stuff and be like, oh well, it's it's for work.
It's a tax write-off.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, it has been really helpful that you are still in the mindset of like, don't say no to something. Because like I was telling you, I was talking to a lot of friends, and they're like, no, don't get anything under $250. Anything under $250, it's just garbage lens. Yeah. Well, for me, it's not though.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm glad I talked to you, and you're like, just get whatever you can afford.
Exactly. Well, the difference between me and your friends, it seems, is that I'm an actual artist, and they're just garbage people. They're pixel peepers.
Actually, now that you mention it, if any of my friends are listening, I'm sorry, but yes, you're pixel peepers.
Yeah, and
you're not awful people. You're just
Joe thinks you're garbage people.
I wasn't going to say that, but
not awful people, just garbage people.
There you go. Okay.
But yes, like if you can go back to you said you've been looking for a camera since January, and we are now in May, almost June, so it's been 6 months that you haven't been taking pictures, and you've been agonizing yourself just to buy like a $250 used camera on eBay. If you can go back to yourself in January, like what would you tell yourself?
So back in January, the camera that I have now is the one I was looking at, and it was I think $50 cheaper because of the coronavirus. I should have just bought it.
Yeah.
I put way too much thought into it, and I'm like, but what if it doesn't do this? What if it doesn't do that? Well, it does everything I need it to do right now.
Yeah, exactly.
And like you said, just the camera that you have now is the best camera you have.
Exactly.
I should have just bought it then. I would have saved some money. I would have had the same. Well, I mean, I got this one really cheap because I got it from a photo company that, like I said, it looked like it was been through a war zone. Mm-hmm. It only had 50,000, for the shutter count. So I guess that's pretty low compared to what you do. But yeah, I mean, going used is the best route you can go, in my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and if you ever have to even if you have to replace the shutter twice, you're still coming out cheaper than buying brand new.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
it's unfortunate that all the accessories start adding up.
Yeah, but you know what? You really don't need accessories. I know you're a gadget guy, and you want to start looking at all the toys, and that's fine. It's fun. It's a hobby. It's fun to get into, like me and my guitar gadgets. But you know, I have relatively little photography equipment, but like tons of useless shit I don't need for my guitars.
Yeah.
So I'm not gonna sit here and pontificate to you, but really just concentrate on going out and learning how to take better photos.
Well, so one of the big factors when I was shopping around for a camera was, what's my upgrade path going to look like? Because I wanted to buy a brand that I had an upgrade path where I can take all the lenses, all the accessories, and move them to whatever my next camera is. Mm-hmm. So that was a really big factor for me. So I was like, okay, right. I want to go with the Sony, because everyone's like, if you want to do video, Sony is probably one of the best. I don't want to do a whole lot of video, but I want that to be an option. Mm-hmm. And now all the accessories that I bought for this, $205 camera, I can move these over to a $700 camera if I want to.
Exactly, yeah. So
and that was a big thing.
Ecosystem.
Yeah, which could be good, could be bad if I decide I don't like Sony, but I mean, you went from Canon to Fujifilm?
I went from Canon to Fujifilm, but I started with Canon when I was 12 and got my first SLR, and then moved on from Fujifilm when I was 32.
Oh, okay. So you got your money's worth out of the Canon stuff. Gotcha.
And it was like a huge decision in my life to be like, oh, am I going to really just get rid of my 5Ds and switch to mirrorless Fujifilms? And like, I did it. So,
do you ever look back?
Not really, because I really enjoy using my Fujifilms. I really like, learning mirrorless and everything. When I first picked up my Fujifilm, it's kind of like reinvigorated my enjoyment of photography, being like a lot more mobile. And especially like the way I shoot, because it's funny because I'm actually trying to stay away from studio lighting as much as I can, or artificial lighting. I'm really trying to reconnect with like that joy of photography, and like more like just like creating something, like creating a mood. I follow so many of these like polished commercial photographers on Instagram, and I just feel like a jaded old man now, because when I look at the images, I'm like, yeah, it's well lit, like it's technically great, the editing's great, but like I just don't care about these photos anymore. And now I've been looking at more how can I say, like artistically minded photographers, and whereas maybe technically the image isn't as like polished, or but it's like so much more interesting. Like just started following this photographer that does like these artsy, it's not like vulgar pornographic, but it's lots of like it's not nudity because they're not fully naked, but it's like around New York City, out, like a woman in just her underwear, like on a train, like in New York on the subway, and like it's all shot on film or like black and white, and it's just like these stunning compositions, and like the lighting is all natural, whatever's around there, and it's like kind of like vibing the moment, instead of just like, oh yeah, here's what you get if you spend like $20,000 on lighting and hire like a model who's absolutely gorgeous, and then pay a retoucher to do it.
Wow. Okay, so like a more natural type of
exactly
photography.
And that's the fun thing about photography, is that there's always something for everyone to look at and enjoy. There's people that like love taking photos of like bottles of booze, or or watches, which is extremely difficult to do. You need like a lot of, not specialized equipment, because you can make a lot of the stuff, but it's you need to be very exact with your lighting, and like there's a lot of precision, and like there's a beauty in that. But for me, I'd rather like drill a hole into my brain than ever have to photograph jewelry again.
Yeah, and you've been doing this for a long time, and now you've like found something new that like interests you. That's really cool that you can be doing this for basically your whole life, and then find something new, 10, 20 years down the road.
There's always something new. Like right now, I'm really getting into just, photographing live fights. And for me, it's just a lot of fun to do. And because I'm not, like I don't need to stress out as much as like a wedding where someone's paying me a lot of money and that's my reputation. It's more, I can just have fun with it and enjoy it. And it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's nice when your job goes back to being a hobby. Like you shoot weddings all the time, you do photo shoots, and then like you're saying, you don't want to just take your camera out to family events or whatever, but it is nice to like get away with the camera and go shoot a fight or something like that, where it's absolutely something enjoyable. Mm-hmm. That is cool.
Yeah, there's always something new to to do, or a new way to look at things, or like when I do get my film camera, my medium format, like I'll have that also.
Yeah, and then you just turn into a whole different monster.
Yeah.
So back to the topic.
Yeah, back to the topic. Are we going to talk about camera settings?
So I want to go back to the camera shopping real quick.
Oh, okay, yeah.
For any listeners, just buy a camera. Any. Well, I shouldn't say just go buy any camera, but like do your research. Look into something, but don't play the what if game. It's not worth it. Trust me. Just get a camera that you think that would be good for you, and it's probably good for you. And
start taking pictures.
Yeah, just start taking pictures. And if you don't like it, try and buy a camera with a good return policy. Then buy another camera.
Right. It's like imagine you spent a year. Imagine you and a friend both want to start photography at the same time, and he just went out and bought like whatever the first camera he saw, or she, and then you waited a year, and in that year you kept seeing this person post, better and better photos as time went on, and then you get your camera, and this person's like a year ahead of you.
Yeah, even if it's a better camera, it doesn't matter.
Exactly.
Can't replace that experience.
Exactly. You'd feel foolish, and you
to
would
say
be
the
foolish.
least. Yeah. You 100% full.
So
you take the camera, you throw it in the garbage, and be like, I'm a garbage person.
You're a garbage person, like your friends.
I failed everyone.
Like your friends, our loyal listeners.
Our loyal listeners, the garbage people. Oh no, I shouldn't say that. That's awful. I'm gonna edit that out. No, I'm not.
It's okay. Just blame it on me. I'm a bad influence.
I was a nice guy until I got a camera.
No, you were a nice guy until you started hanging out with me. There's lots of nice photographers. It's not a photography thing. It's very much a Marlon thing.
Don't you dare blame that camera.
Yeah.
It's 100% Marlon. Don't blame that camera. The camera's a scapegoat. So the next topic was lens shopping.
Mm-hmm.
I had bought the camera on eBay. I got the confirmation saying it was shipping. And then I was like, I need a lens for this. So I went on every Discord that I'm in. And I was like, everyone recommend me a lens. I don't know what to get. Please help. And then I narrowed it down to like 6 lenses. And then I messaged you on Discord and I was like, what do you think of these 4? These ones are aftermarket. What do you think? And you're like, they look like lenses. It's like, okay. You're like, I know this company, this brand is good. And I watched like so many videos. I was like, I was actually struggling whether I wanted to get the 25mm or the 35mm.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people were giving me good recommendations on the 25mm.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people were saying that 35mm wasn't really worth looking into. I don't remember their exact reasoning. But then I actually found a blog post where this one artist, this one photographer, I guess they're an artist, yeah. I'll call him an artist too.
I guess
this
so.
one artistic photographer took the same picture with 4 different lenses. They did a 25mm, a 35mm, a 50mm, and I can't remember the other one. I wasn't even considering it, so I forget which one it was. And they took the same exact photo with all those lenses, and they're like, this is what it looks like when they want just the portrait view of just from their shoulders to their head.
Right.
And then it's like, oh, they had to get closer with these ones, da-da-da. And then they're like, oh, this is what it looks like if all the cameras are at the same distance from the subject.
Right.
And so I got to see different angles or different views from the actual lens themselves, and I was like, okay, I think I'm going to go with a 35mm. I like how that looks.
When I recommend you lenses or equipment, it'll always be biased towards photography.
Yeah.
Something like wider lenses, like that's what your video friends will gravitate towards.
Yes.
Because you need wider to show more of a scene. Whereas like no one's gonna take like a video like up close 2 inches from someone's face just focusing on their eyes.
Yeah.
Or like
you're doing like an interview or something.
Right. Yeah. But like they'll rarely do that. Whereas like in photography you'll do that a lot.
Yes.
So it's.
And I think that had a factor too, because I was specifically looking at lenses from a photography standpoint, not a video standpoint. I'm sure if I watch YouTube videos on people recording videos with 25mm, 35mm, and so on, it would have probably been a lot different. But it's just hilarious that like I spent so much time researching lenses, and then the 2 lenses I bought were basically the 2 that you recommended in the second episode. Like 35mm, 50mm.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't know, Marlon.
You're like Marlon said that too fast, and I need to research everything for like a semester's worth. And you're like, I know he's a professional and he seems to know what he's talking about, but something doesn't add up. And then you like put 60 hours into like reading reviews, and you're like, yep,
I've confirmed Marlon's hypothesis.
Yeah. The guy with 20 years experience certainly gave me great recommendations.
And even after I bought them, I was like kind of on the fence. I was like, I don't know, maybe I made a mistake. And then they arrived, and I'm like,
Yeah.
these are the two lenses. These are my lenses. Like, oh my god, I'm a carbon copy of Marlon.
You're like, now I'm going to have to start swearing at my family.
I need to make people cry.
Insulting my friends.
Oh my god, it started.
Yeah.
So during all this research, I've learned three things. And these are three things that I'm pretty sure you've already said on this podcast. I don't remember offhand, but third-party lenses are fine. You don't have to go with like top of the line. If you can't pronounce the name, which I couldn't pronounce Mikkei until I saw YouTube videos, it's okay. There was another brand that was called 7 Artisan, which apparently it's the same price as the Mikkei, and they make the same exact lens basically.
Right.
And I looked at the name, I was like, that looks like some sort of like knockoff. It's fine. I saw pictures, I saw examples of it. It's fine. So third party, perfectly okay.
Right.
Manual focus, also fine.
Mm-hmm.
I was really scared of, considering manual focus. I'm glad I bought one.
Great.
And then going used, also fine. The kit lens that I got, brand new, it's like 140, I think. I got it off of, I think it's mbp or something.com. MPB. I don't remember the name of the website, but it's basically a marketplace for used lenses and cameras. And I got it for $80. It looks like perfect condition. So
yeah, fantastic.
I'm fine with going used.
Yeah, you lucked out.
Yeah, I'm sure that, some people have bad experiences with used stuff, but don't shy away from used stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. If if it's a trusted seller and it's a company, and if the return policy is decent.
Exactly, yeah. And like I said, my camera looks like it's been through a war zone. I got a silicone case for it, and it looks brand new because you can't see the actual camera body itself anymore.
Yep.
You see a cover and buttons.
Yeah, and as long as the photos turn out sharp, doesn't matter.
Exactly.
What the dials look like, or if there's a scratch.
Now, if you're the kind of person who cares about, what your camera looks like, probably not shopping for a $200 camera. So you're probably, going straight for whatever the latest and greatest is. So I keep saying so a lot. I just realized that.
That's okay. I've just given up on trying not to say like.
Oh my gosh, I was editing the last episode on the live stream, and somebody was keeping count of how many times you said like in a sentence.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm over editing likes out. There's no better word than like.
If you happen to edit this one live and that person watches you, you can tell them that they can suck my fucking dick. Like the little whore they are.
Okay, wow. Interesting. There we. Oh, I'm not even keeping count of like how long we've been talking. I was trying to keep this episode under an hour, but it's been too much fun.
Yeah, we're almost there. Well, it's good. I'm excited for you. I'm excited to actually now we can really dive down. We can see what your frustrations are as you start going through this. We'll see if you start developing imposter syndrome, where like after 6 months you're like, I'm the best photographer in the world, and then 2 months after that you're like, everything I do is garbage.
So I already want to express one frustration I'm having, and I haven't even started like posting pictures yet.
Go for it.
So my wife recently started posting pictures on Reddit of our animals.
Oh,
okay. She has an
iPhone. I got excited for a second.
She has an iPhone 7, I think, or iPhone 8. I can't remember. It's one of the older iPhones, not the newest ones. Mm-hmm. But she started posting pictures of her dogs on Reddit, and they look really nice. Like I don't know what magic Apple is doing with their iPhones, but even for an older iPhone, it looks really good. And she's getting all these upvotes, and like I'm worried that I cannot compete with her iPhone in terms of like upvotes and stuff like that. I'm like, oh
right.
No.
My wife gets amazing images of like we have my baby niece with portrait mode on the iPhone.
Okay.
The iPhone takes excellent photos. It has nothing to do with the camera. It's it's a cute subject. People love cute pets. So no matter what, if you're if you're out there and you're just taking pictures of like a single solitary seagull, even if like great lighting and everything, if it's not interesting, no one's gonna be like, wow, a technically proficient photograph. Like I want to share this with my friends. If someone's like, look at this cute cat, it's chasing a string, even if it's not well lit or I think I said it before. It's subject, lighting, moment.
Yes.
You want all three, but two out of three is good enough.
Okay.
So even though her photos might not be as technically good as yours will be, subject makes a huge difference.
Yeah, that's true. It's just one of those things where I'm already like, oh no, like, can I compete with a cell phone camera?
Yeah, but you know what? There's people always get frustrated, especially when Instagram started getting popular and Hipstamatic was another big app, and Visco. People would say like, there I go again. But oh shit. So people would say things to me such as, "Aren't you mad that these people think they can just pick up a phone and think they're photographers? They think that they just slap some filter on it and they're making art." And it really never bothered me, because if you're making an image and you're sharing it and it means something to someone, you're a photographer, and it's a photo and it's art.
They just describe what a photographer is.
Exactly. And you don't need to have an SLR to make, like a good image.
Yeah.
And yes, like everyone falls into the trap where, oh, well, look at this amazing portrait I did of, of my friend on the street. It's, it's so cool. He's holding a skateboard. He looks badass. And someone's like, well, look at this photo of this hot girl. It has 300,000, likes on Instagram. Like, people like what they like. It's not, you can't compete with that. You really just have to make yourself happy. And if it makes other people happy too to look at it, great. And if not, like, fuck them.
Now, is that easy for you to say because you've like won awards? So you're like, I've validated, like, I know what I'm doing, so I don't care how many likes I get?
Okay, that's an interesting question, because as an artist, I never feel validated. I get I get people messaging me all the time. I love your work. I love that, and it feels great. But part of the reason why I'm always trying to push myself to do better, is because I always how I want to see my images is always better than my actual technical proficiency will be. I saved this quote. I was gonna part of my deliberate tip as you begin your journey in art, but it's from Ira Glass, and I'm going to paraphrase it. But it starts off, nobody tells this to people who are beginners, and I wish someone told me. Okay, all of us who do creative work, we get into it because we have good taste, but there's a gap. For the first couple of years you make stuff, it's just not that good. It's trying to be good, it has potential, but it's not. But your taste, the thing that you get, the thing that got you into the game, is still killer, and your taste is why your work disappoints you. A lot of people never get past this phase, they quit. And it's a longer quote, but that's the whole thing. Like, how you want your images to be, your taste in images, it's always better than what your images look like, and that's what will push you to be better.
Wow.
So yeah, of course, I see on Instagram all the time, photos that I don't like, and things like that, or my competition. I'm always looking at their work. I don't scoff. I'm not like, oh my god, this is disgusting. How could people like this? I'm not like
not openly, at least.
I mean, more when I do say it openly, it's just a joke. But it's just like I need to push myself to do better, and it's not because I want more likes than someone else's. Like I just want to be satisfied with my work. And like I said, if I give someone like an amazing memory from their wedding, and they might cherish that photo forever, a casual passerby might not give two shits about the image, because it means it's nothing personal to them. So
yeah,
you can't make everyone happy. There's some things that are just like objectively interesting to people, like cute kittens.
Yeah, like you said, subject is very important. Okay, wow, got a little deep there.
Yeah, it happened.
And now for something a lot. Well, actually, I guess this is comparatively just as deep. Settings on cameras.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah.
I think I have mine set for like auto everything.
And you know what? And it's fine to do everything on auto. It's fine to do everything on auto and just work on getting closer to your subjects. Words of wisdom: if your pictures aren't good enough, you're not close enough.
Ooh, I like
so
that.
So just try getting close. Don't worry about getting in your daughter's face if you're taking a picture. Like mess around, make mistakes, go wild. Leave the camera on auto and just like start training your eye. And then your next step, once you're comfortable on auto, is go to aperture priority, and just start playing with like lower apertures. Get those blurry backgrounds, make mistakes focusing on things. And and play around with that, or or go to shutter speed priority, where you can choose a shutter. You can make a super fast shutter. Go outside, try to freeze water droplets from a hose or something. Have fun, capturing those moments that you can't get with your eye.
Okay. So for you said that you like to, in a previous episode, you said you like to keep things manual. You like to have full control. Do you have anything on your camera set to like quote unquote auto, where like you don't mess with it?
White balance.
White balance. Okay.
Yeah. Usually when you're outside, you can switch the white balance to outdoors or anything, but I leave that in auto like 90% of the time.
Okay.
Because I shoot in RAW also all the time, so I can change the white balance through Lightroom.
Good point.
And if it's a series of images, I can just copy paste it. Like I can set it by eye for one image and then just copy paste it onto the others.
Ah.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a cool little trick there. So if you're shooting in RAW, then just the white balance to auto, fix it in post.
Yeah. Not fix it in post. Set it in post.
I know.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that phrase though, and I'm going to continue using it.
Yeah. Go for
Even
it.
when it doesn't apply, I'm just going to keep saying it.
Yeah, for everything.
Okay, so white balance, a big setting that, well, I'm assuming it's a big setting. ISO.
Yep.
What's your recommendation? Well, I guess you can't really do a recommendation, but manual versus auto.
I mean, I would say for you, start in auto as you're trying to figure it out. Like, obviously, I've been doing this for decades, so I can do my settings I can picture them in my mind before I even pick up my camera. Mm-hmm. Generally, if I'm inside, if it's a dark room, I'm at 1600 or 3200. If I'm, if there's some window light coming in, I'm maybe at 800 or 400. And then if I'm outside, I'm at 200.
Okay. Now, how important is ISO setting, I guess?
ISO is it's pretty important because it's the sensitivity of the sensor. Well, it comes from, it used to be the sensitivity of the film. The higher the ISO, the less light you need to make to create an image on the sensor.
Okay.
So, except it's the only setting that actually affects image quality. Because the higher the ISO, the more grain you get, the more noise, the less saturated the colors, and it's less sharp, the image.
Okay, that's actually really good to know. I was wondering, like, I had my camera set up as a video mode or whatever, and it was like getting a little grainy, and I was like, I wonder what setting that is. So ISO affects grain. Gotcha.
But if you're inside and it's dark, I know someone who is a professional in that they do get paid to take photos, and he goes, I only shoot at 100 ISO. Why would I want to sacrifice any quality? And I'm going, well, if like you're indoors, you can't get any natural moments. You have to blast a lot of light because like ISO 100, it's like direct sunlight is ISO 100. That's what you use, And he goes, yeah, okay. I just keep my ring light on my camera and I just, like on everything. And I'm going like, what the fuck? Like, I mean, like you can't just photograph everything with like direct light, like just blasting into the subject. And this whole thing was like, well, I want the best image quality. And so it's, I understand why someone can fall into that trap. Not so much professional, but yes, you always want the best image quality, but you also want the best image. And so sometimes like a bit of grain isn't going to ruin the image. If I'm shooting in a dimly lit church with lots of candles, I don't want to ruin that ambiance with flash. I'd rather just bump up the ISO to like 6400 or 8000, which digital cameras are getting so much better with handling all that. And even though the images might be a bit grainy, which you can actually fix in post with a few tricks.
You said it. He said it, guys.
Yeah. Well, you can't fix it. You can't fix that in camera. It's not like a wire where you can, where you should just recompose. But and then you get that, that actual better image, even though like the actual quality of the image might not be as good as if you went lower ISO.
Okay, so ISO is the only setting that actually affects the quality. So should that be like a higher priority for me to focus on learning?
No, I would say like it'll come naturally, and the camera will be good at deciding it. Because there's also things like you need to take into account like your minimum shutter speed, which should be 1 over the focal length. Like if you're shooting 50 millimeters, the lowest your shutter should actually be is 1 over 50.
Okay.
And because if your shutter speed is open too much, that's how you start getting blurry images.
Okay.
Because your hands shake.
Shutter speed?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But it's just about finding a balance between those three: ISO, shutter speed, aperture.
Okay. That is good to know. So I know there's a lot of settings in the camera, but having an idea of what I should be focusing on makes it a lot less daunting of a task for me to learn, I think.
So those are the 3 settings that are universal to photography. That like, and
Also,
if you pick up a 50-year-old film camera, those will be the only. Well, the ISO is from the film, and you really only have aperture and shutter speed. So every other setting is just a novelty. It's just a toy. You know, like, yes, obviously I use some of these things on my camera. Like, you know, sometimes the eye tracking really helps, but really I'm shooting in manual 100% of the time, and everything else, like, I just don't care about. Like, it's like, I like that my camera has a histogram in the viewfinder, so I can actually see the levels. I can see if highlights are clipping. But if I didn't have that, it's fine. Like, I would make do without it.
Gotcha. Okay. That's also good to know that those 3 are universal for all cameras. Mm-hmm. So the people that aren't just in Fujifilm, they know that these 3 settings apply to everything. And if I decide to go use a different camera, I'm not a big fan of Sony, knowing those 3 settings will translate, you know, over to other cameras. That's cool. I'm sure there's other settings that'll translate over too, but it sounds like those 3 are the most important.
And with the caveat that I don't know shit about video, and there might be like tons of settings for video that I don't know 2 things about. So I'm just not like, I just want to reiterate that anything I say, you know, from a professional opinion is always about photography. So I don't know, you know.
Yes, I completely understand. I disregard anything you say about video. I'm just joking. I take your opinions into account for everything. Okay, so we have the settings out of the way. I already touched on the accessories that I've purchased. I feel like I need more. I'm trying not to, but going down that rabbit hole. What are some accessories that I should be looking at that I mean, you already said don't focus on accessories, but what's like a priority for you when you like accessorize your camera, basically? What are some things that you have that...
I do not accessorize my camera. I have a strap that I think was $15 from Hyperion camera straps. They make...
Is that the shoulder strap?
No, that's not my harness. That's like, if I'm photographing like personal stuff, I don't want to like walk around with this like leather suspenders. So okay. I have like it's just like a rope camera strap. And so that's it. I don't have a silicone case or anything. But really, your accessories, the only thing that I would need is extra batteries and extra memory cards.
Okay, actually, that brings up a good point. So I wasn't shopping around for memory cards, but as I was shopping around for accessories, there's all these different kind of cases that hold, you know, like 20 memory cards or whatever. Do you have any kind of special carrier for your memory cards or anything like that? Or you just have a box or something like that you keep them in?
So, I do have, it's like a little soft carrying case that when I bring them to a job, I put them in. It's, they have like little pockets for them. And it's actually, the carrying case is also 18% gray, so I can use it to white balance. Like, I can take a picture of it, and then a lot of photography accessories are actually that color, the inside of bags and things like that. So that's like a little pro tip. You can usually the inside of photography bags are gray and a neutral gray that you can use to white balance.
Nice.
So right now my memory cards are right in front of me, and they're just like a little tower on my monitor, like on like my monitor stand. There's like a whole big stack of them.
Yeah, but when you're at home, they could just be anywhere.
Yeah, it's usually like I don't clear my cards until like I'm absolutely sure I don't need anything on them. And I have a bad habit of sometimes if I'm on a job, I put them into that, you know, that like little fifth pocket in your jeans, like the lighter pocket. I just shove them into there, and they've gone through the wash a few times.
Okay, now let's pretend that you're a professional and you're doing everything correctly. Do you have a special kind of case that you use? Like, you said you had the soft case. So basically, it's just a small little case that holds a bunch of memory cards. Is that what its purpose is for, or is it just a typical case?
It's like a typical case. Like there are the like the Pelican cases you can get if you're going on safari in Africa, you know, and you might be hiking for a week. Like, yeah, you want these, you know, these super hardcore cases. Realistic when I shoot, it's I'm going downtown taking pictures of someone. I shoot to 2 memory cards, so my camera has 2 memory card slots, so each photo goes to 2 separate memory cards, and then I leave them my camera. You know, I shoot with like big cards, like 256 gigs, so like I don't have to worry about changing them during a shoot, and then I come home and just, you know, take them out of the camera, upload them.
Gotcha. Because yeah, I saw like some like, really crazy. They look like little books where you open them up. Actually, do you remember back in the day when we had CDs? They had the CD books.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, with the cellophane. Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen those for memory cards, and I was like, that's insane.
Yeah. I have a few of them lying around. Sometimes, like when you go to camera stores or something, they throw in, their branded accessories or whatever, and I don't use them.
Okay, it's just not worth it. Okay.
Yeah, I just put them into like the little plastic case that they come with.
Yeah.
And then put those in my pocket. I've never had a problem.
Yeah, they go through the wash. They're fine.
Yeah, I mean, listen, if I'll give you firsthand, experience that they survive. They can be washed.
They shouldn't be, but they can be.
Yeah, they should not be, but they can be.
Yeah, don't run your memory cards through the wash.
Yeah, and I usually test them a few times, like in a non-professional setting before I ever use them. But I think I've only washed 2.
Okay, that is good to know. But speaking of cases, I actually don't have a case for my camera, and that's like really concerning to me. What kind of case do you have?
I have a bag. I have 2 bags. One of them's like a really big. The company I use is Lowepro.
Okay.
There's so many bags and case. Like, you don't need a hard case. You just need like a bag. It's padded. Your camera will be safe in there, and you can just chuck it.
And it fits the body, couple lenses.
Yeah, exactly. I have a bag from Amazon Basics actually. I bought it just to put if I'm ever taking my small bag, but I wanted like a second bag just to put my my small like on camera flashes that sometimes I use with triggers to take portraits in tight spots, just so I can toss like some stuff and accessories into there.
Okay, so nothing special, just a padded case.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, because I was actually telling I was at my parents' house yesterday, and I was telling them I got a new camera, and they're like, "Why didn't you bring it?" I was like, "I don't have a case for it. I don't want to take it out of the house yet." Like I told you, I was afraid I'm just gonna drop this or break it. It's like I need to get a case so I can actually leave the house with it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, just any kind of padded case will work then.
Exactly. When I leave the house, I don't always take a case. Like if I'm just going out for a stroll or something, or just taking some photos,
I mean, but you don't like go to a shoot and you just have the camera sitting in the passenger seat of your car or anything, right?
No.
No, you got it in a case. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. Sometimes you go Maverick with.
Yeah, no. Listen, I have driven to like, let's say like my sister's house. She wants a few shots of my niece or something, and like the camera is literally sitting on my passenger seat. Like that's happened. But if you're paying me money, no, I give you the courtesy of really making sure my equipment shows up intact.
I just picture you just getting out of your car with your suspender, your holster set up, and then you just get out of the car and you got just your cameras on both sides.
Yep.
Like a detective. It's like, I'm here.
Listen, when I'm at a wedding and I have to like go from space to space, sometimes I don't even take my camera off. I just put sit down with them. They're on my holster and I just put on my seatbelt. Bang it out to the next location and just, step out exactly like how you just described.
Wow. I'm just picturing it like slow motion though.
Yeah.
Like I'm here.
Yeah, the doves flying out in the back.
I'm here to take some pictures. Where am I needed? But like you said, they're just tools. You don't have to, like for me, I'm probably going to baby my camera and like, just put it in the case every time. You're just like, passenger seat, go.
Yeah. Well, I mean, listen, if, it is a tool. If I broke a camera and, I would have to buy a new one and, just the next shoot I would need a camera. It's, it's just a different mindset. Totally. Like it's your hobby, right? You love it. The same thing with my computers. If like my power supply shorted out and I probably like researched for 2 hours, like what power supply should I get? Whereas, you have a lot more experience with that. I'm sure you would have just, knocked that out in 15 minutes and ordered one right off Amazon Prime or Newegg without a second thought. So
yeah, next time message me. What's going on? I'm going to message you when I break a lens.
Yeah, as you should.
Actually, I'm not going to message you. I'm just going to buy another 35 or 50 millimeter because those are the only 2 lenses I need.
There you
You've
go.
already taught me that.
Yeah, I mean, 85 you would like to.
Oh, I know I'm going to go down that rabbit hole where I'm going to start collecting lenses. I just know it.
I mean, but if you like manual focus, it'll be a lot more palatable.
Yeah, and that's the thing too. Is like I was actually secretly hoping I wouldn't like manual, and I'd be like, this is too hard, because then I'd have a reason to not be buying lenses.
But then listen, you're gonna end up buying lenses anyways, so at least let them be the more affordable ones.
That's true.
Even if you get one a year.
Only one a year?
Well,
That's crazy
I don't
talk.
know.
That's crazy talk, Marlon.
Just gonna have a wall of lenses. You're like, here's my 35 millimeter, my 36 millimeter, my 37 millimeter. 30.
That'll be my guitar guitar pedal collection.
Yeah, I'm selling a few though. So, yeah.
Okay. I don't know how long we've been talking for, but I think it's time for that deliberate tip.
All right, let's do it. So, I mean, I gave you one already. I said, if your picture isn't good enough, you're not close enough. I told you the quote by Ira Glass, which is motivational for you to, stick with it and keep on improving.
You could have saved it. I mean, it was perfect for that segment. So.
Well, I found another quote, so it's not a deliberate tip, but it's a good quote. It's actually something I wanted to bring up because, as you mentioned, you're colorblind. You're going to be doing a lot of photos in black and white. So I came across this quote. I bookmarked it. When you photograph people in color, you are photographing their clothing. When you photograph them in black and white, you photograph their souls. That's Ted Grant.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is deep. I like it.
Yeah. So I saw that and I thought of you.
Yeah, because I don't like photographing clothes. I'm here to photograph their souls.
Exactly.
Wait, what if they're naked and you photograph them in color?
Yeah, well, that's the artistic choice you'll have to make. I mean, listen, I photograph a lot in color. I just thought it was a cool quote.
I know, but it's got me thinking now.
Yeah. Well, one of my favorite portrait artists is this guy Nigel Parry, who does lots of like these like really intense black and white portraits, and they're definitely amazing. So.
Very cool. Yeah. Okay. Well, I think that sums up this episode.
Okay. Bye.
You're just gonna do a cold ending like that?
Just like that. That's how I roll.
Okay. I was gonna try and say something like, inspirational, but I guess you already covered all the quotes.
See you next time, shitheads.
And scene. Wait, that's theater?
Yeah. That's
okay.
a wrap. That's a wrap.
That's a wrap. Cut. Wait, these are all video endings.
No, you rap on set also for photo shoots.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's cool to know. Thanks for listening to our podcast. I hope you learned something or got some good laughs out of it. Check us out at mandapod.com. MANDAPOD.com. Thanks again.